new moon in Virgo too. So the decan rulers here are Venus and Saturn, and we've got this beautiful illustration from Nicola Nart of the spider's web, and it just feels so Virgoan, doesn't it? The spider quality control, carefully checking every detail, which seems apt for a new moon in Virgo at 11 degrees.
Yeah, I think of like just the archetype of Venus and Virgo. I always go straight to like the artisan and to some of your notes that are on the screen, like the eye for detail, the professional form. I have a dear friend who is like the ultimate craftswoman as her ascendant in this decan, and yeah, just like the ability to create, yeah, with that level of detail that is very foreign to me as a Jupiterian. That it's like it's a level that like transcends just the typical, I guess, of like just the intricacy of like a spider web, if that's such a great image.
It won't surprise you that I've got planets in this deck.
No, not at all.
When we're talking about my notes and the slides and everything else, it's like, this is where it's come from. This decan at work.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I'm going to do it, I'll end up drilling down into everything.
Yes.
So yeah, that's absolutely right. I attended a lecture about Mercury and Mercury's phases, because Mercury is the ruler here. And so I'm going to be popping these in as we go. But Mercury follows like this serpentine movement as he goes through his various solar phases with the sun. And Gary Kaysen has titled these phases depending on where Mercury is in relation to the sun. And at this phase where Mercury's in its like elongation phase, is titled the philosopher. So that gives us a feeling of what Mercury's up to, because there's different sides of Mercury. Mercury can be a trickster, can be a magician, can be the philosopher, can be a guardian, and can also be a psychopath. So he can be causing mischief and sending us riddles and little winks and things that cause mischief during the retrograde and things like that. Or he can be very serious when he's doing his psychopomp role, or when he is in Virgo, just really paying this attention to detail and very focused. That does seem more as a philosopher, really digging into all the details. So even though he's in Leo, he's bringing some Virgo energy here. Kira Ryberg, the astrologer, calls this decan perfectionism. So we can see what the theme is, really. Austin Coppock calls it the hammer and anvil, that creation of using the force of the hammer and the anvil, but the work and the effort that goes into the creation as well. It's not just by accident, it's by focused effort as well to bring the creation. And Nicola Nart calls it quality control. So that constantly keeping an eye on what's being produced as well, checking, double checking, going back. So that's the energy that the new moon is bringing us. New moons are like the fresh starts. So if there's something that you're wanting to bring into the world, that you want to bring this kind of energy to, we often say that, like, if you imagine in an office or a workplace, you kind of need all sorts of different people for different kind of roles. And you can imagine that Virgos are very good at this kind of thing, like editing or something where they're going to do that quality control, or with the numbers and things like that, they would get the spreadsheets right or the slides right or something. So yeah, so there's a new project that you're starting, or a seed you want to plant where you want to bring this kind of energy in. This is a good time to do it. And again, it's the mutable signs. We've got the opposition here to Saturn. It's a whole sign opposition. It's not exact, but it's applying to it. And then it's squaring the Jupiter. Again, whole sign square and Jupiter and Mars, really.
It's a very dynamic new moon, I would say. It's, I don't want to be prescriptive in telling people to not start something, but you just have to know the ecosystem that this new moon is existing in. And, we've got Saturn across the way that might kind of pump the brakes on some movement, or might make it a little bit more difficult. It might also just add some structure or, limits, helpful limits, because limits can be helpful to whatever you're trying to start. And then we also have Jupiter in Mercury's sign, Mercury being in Leo. So it's a very mercurial Jupiter. It's Jupiter in its detriment, so it's kind of, a little bit unruly, and there might be a lot of ideas, and maybe this is a good signature then with that Saturn across the way to kind of help tamper some of the wildness of Jupiter and Gemini too. So
Yeah, that's a good point.
it's squaring Jupiter as well. So
Yeah, because mutable energy can be like that, can't it? Its nature is to transition, to be not one thing or another. It's when the seasons are changing is the time of year that it reflects. So it's when you can leave the house and it's raining, and then halfway through the day it's hot and sunny, and then it's snowing by the time you leave work or something. So it reflects that kind of quality of change. So with that astrology as well, there's challenges there, isn't there? But like you say, with Saturn, you've got to lean into it with something. You've got to know that those challenges and limits are going to be there, and be willing to learn from them and accept them, and then work with them. If you're sort of like somebody applying for a mortgage or something and giving up at the first challenge, you kind of got to be willing to, like, okay, that's not working. How do we get around this kind of thing? Because not everything goes through the first time, or your first application gets accepted. It's like, well, are you going to stick with this and get around the problem? Keep trying. Do you want this enough? And if you do, then it's going to really be something solid. Again, building those solid structures, building those solid foundations. And that's the rewards of Saturn when you put the time and effort in. I think I've heard you call it hard work and discipline before. If you put that hard work in and discipline, then you get the reward. But it's not an easy ride. Whereas Jupiter just wants to bring all those opportunities in and just expand things and make it easy and bring order to everything. But Mercury is more taking everything apart and looking at it and dissecting it all into all these little pieces. So there's a lot of contradiction going on there.
yeah.
So yeah, it's a lot, like you say. So yeah, depending on what you're starting, it's making it fit with that, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I think just whatever you're starting is probably not a straightforward path. There's going to be some challenges. There's going to be some yeses and some nos.
Yeah.
It's winding. It's not straight.
Just be prepared for that and roll with it.